small group.
Yeah, I think some will trickle in though.
Yeah,
I have that
probably.
feeling.
I know Chris said he'll see you, like Chris, for example, said, I'll see you tomorrow night.
Did
But
Joe not say he was coming tonight? Joe?
I don't know. I didn't talk to Joe. I talked about Chris, so I don't know. But that's fine. How many new people do we have?
I haven't been here in a long time.
Okay, I recognize you though.
From the other staff, I got confused with the address.
Yeah, okay,
I'm new.
okay. I'm kind of referring
And
to
improved.
new meditators, and it depends on what I talk about. So it's a lot legitimate question.
It's important.
But thank you for coming, everybody. And this is the infamous Wednesday night meditation group. We've been doing this for, I don't know, almost 9 years now, I think. Long time. And
We had the place for a long time,
yeah,
you know,
yep.
until about, 2 years ago we moved here?
No, it was about
6 months.
6 months ago, yeah.
6 months, okay.
Yeah. Got word, people have been asking about a summer program, meditation program, and there is one starting July 8th. I think it's the 8th. It's the first Monday after the 4th of July. So it's not the 8th, it's probably more like the 12th or something like that.
I don't know when the fourth hits.
But it's the first Monday. Anyway, if your email address is on this list here, I'll keep you informed on that if anybody's interested. So it'll be led by Ryan Nimick. A lot of people know Ryan, and it'll be right here on Monday nights. So I'll keep you posted on that. I just found out about that yesterday, so it's fresh on my mind.
Who's Ryan?
You'll have to look him up
That's
online.
not the didgeridoo guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it
Oh, it
is.
is?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, he's a sweetheart.
That's a good way to describe him, the didgeridoo guy. Yeah.
He's the one that taught that class.
Yeah. And so, and he went through the teacher training program. So, and we've been getting on him to get a program together for a long time, and he's putting it together, so it'll be good. How's everybody's meditation practice going? Do you have a meditation practice?
Not going constantly.
I like your honesty. Yeah. That's better than none at all. Yeah.
I want to push it towards mornings instead of every other morning. or
Every other morning?
I just want to do it more consistently in the mornings because
Yeah.
I think it helps better.
You're a morning person?
No.
Well, maybe you should
Therein
meditate
lies
at
the
night
issue.
then.
That's why I think I need it in the mornings to
Yeah.
set my day.
Yeah. A lot of people just love to meditate in the morning and not so much at night, but I meditate in the morning, and then when I do something like this, of course, I meditate in the evening too, but and I get two of them in, two nice meditations, but usually in the morning. And I always did. I was always a morning person. I used to, being a musician, I used to always practice that in the morning too, kind of get it out of the way. And then later on in the afternoon and the evening too, again, but but with meditation, morning is my time, and that's not true with everybody. Some people like the evening. So it's just different strokes for different folks, whatever works out.
So do you lose it if you meditate at night and then you go to sleep? Then is it really as beneficial as it would be in the morning, you think?
I would miss it if I didn't do it in the morning, and if I only did it at night.
Yeah. I'm wondering if it helps you through the day if you did it
Sure
in the
it
morning
does.
Oh, I
versus
think
did
so.
it doing
I
it at
think
night.
so, yeah.
Do you
I think
meditate
so.
at night?
In the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then doing it at night probably affects your sleep patterns and things like that, though, too. Which can affect your day. So.
I think it clears my mind in the evening because my mind is completely all over the place in the evening.
Yeah.
I'm a night person, so I'm like
Yeah, yeah. I know myself at night, I kind of get drowsy, you know, a little bit sometimes. But in the morning, I guess maybe I'm a morning person, more energy, you know.
You're an early morning person, because we get emails from you really early in the morning.
Wow.
5 in the morning, you'll send one or something.
Sometimes,
Yeah.
but
Well,
sometimes.
I look at the time that they came, you know, it's
Yeah.
like, wow, he's up early.
Or maybe he didn't go to bed yet.
Well, that,
Yeah, yeah. Maybe I didn't go to bed.
I'll never tell.
Yeah. Get some of these emails in before I go to bed, you know. Yeah. But sometimes, even when we're on retreat, we just got done with a 4-day retreat, and we were getting up at quarter to 6. You were getting,
I
Terry,
was waking up for some reason.
Terry was
4:30, I don't
getting
know
up,
why.
yeah. But then we get an opportunity to go to sleep, you know, 9 o'clock, ideally 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock, you know, because you're meditating all day, and wow, it's just, when you're tired, you're tired. So, and yeah, but we had a really good retreat. It was a wonderful time for everybody. Everybody enjoyed it. So I'm saying this to the people online too, so that they come to the Memorial or the Labor Day retreat at the end of August, beginning of September. The people online, I'm going to warn them right now that this is might run out of battery in the camera, and if that happens, I don't have a backup. So I'm just warning, giving them a warning right now. So this is being streamed. A lot of you might not realize that this is being streamed. So I'd like to send out a little bit of an invitation. It seems like my favorite topic lately is thoughts, particularly in the aspect of new thoughts and old thoughts in the relation to them and how they work for us. And we can, spotting and working with thoughts. You know, a lot of times we think of thoughts relating to the past and relating to the future, you know, and these are usually seen as, you know, pretty much unnecessary in meditation. We're not trying to stop the thinking or change it or do any of that. We're if anything, we are accepting the thoughts, but we're not being reactive to them at all. Thoughts come and thoughts go, you know, just like waves in the ocean, just like clouds in the sky. So we don't try to, if we try to stop thoughts, and if we would get probably stressed out during our meditation. That's goes against what we're trying to accomplish in meditation. We don't want to be stressed. So the thoughts that arise, if we just see them and be aware of them, if they relate to, we could look at them that a thought that relates to the past is just the mind creating bringing this up again. You know, the past has already happened, and we're just bringing it up for whatever reason. And thoughts that are related to the future hasn't happened. So again, it's the mind creating, looking for something to fix, something to look out for in the future, preparing for the future, that kind of thing. And like I said, most of that is just unnecessary during meditation. So we kind of have to remind ourselves that it's not that important, you know, to be thinking about these things. But in relation to thoughts in the area of new thoughts, these are generally what are looked at as being quite beneficial in meditation. These new thoughts are looked at as insights. And that's actually the type of meditation that we usually call what we're doing here is insight meditation or vipassana. And of course, the new thoughts are kind of, well, they're very inspiring for us. They can give us a lot of energy. They're usually, these aha moments, things that we didn't try to conjure up. They seemingly come out of the spaciousness that we leave open, you know, from not dwelling on other thoughts. In other words, the old thoughts. And most of the thoughts that we have are the older thoughts. In other words, we're rehashing them again and again. They're coming up again and again. And when these old thoughts appear to us, they really take a lot of energy from us, you know, especially if we dwell on them or react to them. If we notice that an old thought is coming up, there are a few things that we can do as far as, and first of all, we want to recognize it as an older thought, you know, like a habitual pattern, something that that is a habit, keeps coming up again and again, you know, a habitual thought in the mind. And if we can be aware of that, usually that awareness will kind of disarm it in meditation. If we're not in meditation, there's other things that we can do too, but maybe we can talk about that after our meditation practice, you know, in the area of these thoughts. So for this meditation and what we're looking at, just be aware of our thoughts and notice how many of them are repetitive. And as soon as we notice them, just really kind of give ourselves an okay to let them go right away. There's nothing wrong with thoughts. Like I said, we're not trying to change them. We're not trying to stop them or anything like that. We're accepting them, but we're seeing them and just letting them slide off like Teflon on like water on Teflon. You know, it just kind of slides off of there.
What's really terrifying is that it can be as high as 95% of our thoughts that are repetitive.
Or
It's all
more.
different. As much as they can do those studies show that's on the high side,
Mhm.
95%.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
So they're not serving us,
Right.
especially in meditation. But if there is a thought that comes up that is a new thought, we should acknowledge it and not necessarily dwell on it, but acknowledge it as an insight. And it's kind of nature's way of saying, hey, take a look at this, you know. And when it's new, we know it. It's like the ultimate truth for us. It's something that we get inspired, you know, and we have energy behind it. And so those should be looked at with acceptance as well and acknowledged, you know. So we don't necessarily want to have to write them down or anything like that, but just look at them with awareness. And that's the invitation for tonight's meditation. Before we started the meditation, does anybody have any questions or anything about the practice?
How to acknowledge it and let it slide? How to do that? Just go.
Yeah,
self-talk.
I'll give some instructions when we start. Probably for about the first 15 or 20 minutes, as we go into the meditation, I'll give some instructions. So if you listen to what I'm saying, and just follow the instructions, I think it'll help you understand the practice and help us get through it. And usually, a good thing to realize, and most of us have been here before and know that the technique that we use, but our meditation object is so important, and the meditation object that we're using here is the breath, and we focus on the breath, and we use that for our concentration object. And so that's number one, to realize that we're using the breath, and then I'll be talking about the breath as we go, you know, through the meditation. And if a person, for some reason, wants to use sound or something like that for their meditation object, that's okay too. But for the most part, the breath is by far, you know, the best meditation object to use, and by far the most common, you know, worldwide. So, okay, so please everybody make yourself comfortable. What we will, this will be about a 35-minute meditation. So you want to be comfortable. If you move around a little bit, that's fine. Just do it silently so we don't interfere with our neighbor. And please close the eyes. And bring your attention to the breath. Notice how the breath feels. We're not trying to manipulate it or change it, just noticing it. Noticing the breath just like we notice our thoughts or our feelings or anything else within the body or mind. Complete acceptance. So when we focus on the breath, we want to find a place in the body where we feel it the most, or that we feel most comfortable using it in that area of the body. And then when we feel the breath on the body, these feelings, we can relate to this because we have these feelings all the time. Whenever there's a sensation, we sense it as a feeling, pleasant or unpleasant. Whenever we see something or smell something, hear something or touch something, it's pleasant or unpleasant. And even when thoughts arise, this can produce a pleasant or unpleasant feeling. And many of these are neutral. But when we're focusing on the breath, a lot of this isn't even registering for us because we become concentrated for a while anyway. For most of us, our minds are very, very busy. We have a lot of, we're used to a lot of anxiety, the proverbial monkey mind. And a lot of times we just let the mind do this. We let it have its way. And in meditation, we're trying to restrict a little bit of that just by awareness. We're trying to cultivate stillness of the mind, comfort and relaxation in the body. So we're using the breath as a tool to concentrate and ultimately to bring us into this presence. And this presence seems like a slice of time between the past and the future. Although the past and the future don't really exist, only in the mind. They're a construct. We could say that things happened in the past, but it's gone. It's empty now. And we could say that hopefully something will happen in the future for us to be aware of, but it hasn't happened. And in a way, the future never comes. It's always the present moment. And the present moment, of course, is all that we ever will experience, except for when we allow the frontal cortex to think about the past and the future in the area of thoughts and memories. And so when we're using the breath, we can rest our attention on the breath. We'll notice that a thought will arise, or a memory. Something might draw our attention away, such as a sound. Various things happen, but if we can still stay with the breath, even a little bit, we're actually doing our job as a meditator. In other words, we don't want to stray too far from the breath, because if we do, we can get lost in thought, lost in the daydream, lost in the story. And so the breath might become very soft, might be almost unnoticeable, but we want to become familiar with it as much as possible. We want to know that it's there. In other words, we want to feel it on the body, or we want to be able to visualize it in some way, or pick up on its movement, as subtle as it might be. So we want the mind to register that the breath is there, and that we have this breath that we can draw our attention to, that we can focus on. And then when something beckons our attention from that, as soon as we notice that it's been pulled away, we come back to the breath. Or we stay with the breath and just kind of share our attention. Keep part of our attention on the breath and part of our attention on these other areas, these other things that are happening. So we never want to stray too far from the breath. Always look at the breath like our friend, like our partner in a crowded room or something where we do not want to get too far away from them. Because we don't want to lose the breath. We want to stay with it, because this breath points to us what our true nature is, who we truly are. And what we truly are is this presence. And in this presence is this oneness where we are not necessarily this individual self, where we're looking out for danger and thinking more about I, me, mine. And we find that in this presence that the mind is still operating as normal, but we are not so reactive to many of the things that it's bringing up. Because we realize that it's just not worth the effort. And so we give ourselves permission to stay with the breath, use the breath as our meditation object, not to stray too far from it. recognize this as being our true nature, and rest in that. Sometimes we'll find that the breath is hard to stay with. Sometimes it'll be easy to stay with. If we have difficulty with it, we might want to count the breaths, using the inhalation and exhalation as one count. We might want to visualize the breath, visualize the inhalation, the top of the inhalation or the bottom of the exhalation. Maybe find the middle of the breath. Just really stay with it. And notice how calming and soothing the breath can be for us. And it should be energizing as well. If everybody has one of these cards, we can recite this together. Loving Kindness Sutra. To attain the state of peace, one skilled in goodness should be able, upright, perfectly upright, gentle in speech, kind, and free from pride, contented, easily satisfied, with limited duties and unburdened livelihood, controlled in senses, discreet, reserved, and not blindly attached to groups. One should not commit the slightest wrong, that the wise might censor, wishing, may there be happiness and security, may all beings be happy. Whatever beings there are, whether feeble or strong, tall or short, large, medium, or small, microscopic or mammoth, leaving none, seen or unseen, living near or far away, born or to be born, may all beings be happy. Let one not deceive another, nor despise anyone anywhere, neither in anger nor in ill will should one wish another harm. Just as a mother would risk her own life to protect her only child, even so, one should cultivate a limitless concern for all living beings. Extend loving kindness throughout the world without limitation, above, below, and across, free of obstruction, enmity, or hostility. Whether standing, walking, sitting, or lying down, one should diligently sustain this mindfulness. This is called sublime living. Without holding narrow views, but being endowed with broad vision and avoiding attachment to sense desires, the virtuous are not born again into this world. May each one of us and all beings be well, happy, and peaceful. May no harm come to us. May no difficulties come to us. May we all meet with spiritual and worldly success. May we have the patience, the courage, and the understanding to meet and overcome any problems or difficulties that we might face in life. Yeah. So, yeah, thank you, everybody. I thought it was a really nice, quiet meditation. Very nice. Any questions or anything that came up for anybody? Was it good?
Yes.
Okay. The invitation was to look for, basically to notice any kind of new thoughts that come up. And those are what we refer to as insights in Buddhism. And insights are really a huge part of the spiritual progress, or process, I should say, because they are the teachings, that the Buddha gave and these other wonderful teachers gave. And insights happen all the time for us. A lot of times we just don't recognize them. We don't see them as insights, and we forget about them. A lot of modern teachers today have insights all the time, and they, if they're lucky, they can get it down on paper and write it out and make a book or whatever, and do well with them, or get out and teach them. So they're very, very important, and they should not be just squandered. In other words, they should be noticed and respected. On the other hand, the other side of that, it's just like everything, there's old and new, old houses, old cars, new cars, old bodies, new bodies, old thoughts and new thoughts, of course. And the old thoughts are the ones that probably don't serve us as much, but they are the things that all the lessons are contained in. All these lessons that we've learned, up to this point, are contained in that history of the thoughts, old thoughts that we've had. Many times the negative thoughts that keep coming up again and again and again those are the ones that can really cause problems for us, of course. They can cause anxiety, PTSD, just an all-around negative negativity for us, and negative attitude, and all sorts of things can happen from repetitive bad thoughts. And the thing is that we have to realize that we don't have to pay any attention to them. It's sometimes easier said than done, but if we see them as old patterns, as old thoughts, and remind ourselves that we don't have to acknowledge them and give them any power, because unfortunately, that's what we're doing. We're giving these thoughts a lot of power, and they don't deserve it. And the way we do that is we dwell on them. We just sit and ponder these negative things. It's not worth it. And meditation gives us an opportunity to see all that. The meditation is not a time to be thinking. We know that it's not that kind of an activity. But yet we become sensitive to this stuff, and we focus on the breath or whatever we might be using for that meditation object, and then we become sensitive to all these thoughts that arise. And if we can almost become selective to what thoughts we want to pay attention to, what thoughts we want to use. And in that way, we become kind of a private investigator of the mind, or a private investigator of the thoughts. Just kind of see the real fine nuances of them as they come up. And as mentioned a couple of times already, we don't have to give them that power. We don't have to be reactive to them at all. If we have a thought that comes up again and again and again, we can add a newness to it. And kind of what we're doing is turning it into a new thought. Let's say we have the thought, let's say we wake up in the morning and have the idea that we should work out. We should, have a daily workout. And we realize that we think that every morning, the same thought. It's that awareness that allows us to take action, knowing that thought comes up all the time. And if we allow our awareness to do its part, it can do its part in such a way that we can change that thought into not that I should have a daily workout program, but I will have a daily workout program, and I'll start right now. I'm going to do a morning run before work, and I'm going to do something every day, to better my physique, or whatever we want to call it. And so all of a sudden, like that, it's a new thought. It's not dwelling on the old past, repetitive thoughts. And a lot of these things are just subconscious. They happen again and again and again. We tell ourselves these things that we should be doing. We're so used to hearing them that we're not going to do anything. We just won't, And so, again, it's the awareness to notice that. And add some newness to it. Add a new dimension to it. And not let these old patterns get the best of us. And I think very few people look at it as old thoughts and new thoughts. And a lot of people wouldn't even distinguish what an old thought or a new thought is, because they just let the thoughts happen on their own, just,